Welcome back to the Living in Denver podcast. It's the beginning of May, and I know on this show we have a lot of incredible Denver business owners that are on talking about our communities, what it's like to live here, the type of businesses they run. This month alone, we had Donovan with Save Our Solar, who really filled us in on what solar companies are doing out there, maintenance of solar systems as it becomes much, much more popular in the Colorado market. And then we also had the folks on at Bio One, kind of helping guide us through some of the most challenging things that we could make in our life. And I mean, we're talking, unattended death, hoarding cleanup, stuff like that, stuff that really takes a special person to be able to do and not let it affect them too adversely. So if you missed those, I'll have a link in the description below for you where you can check out those other podcasts from some of our incredible Denver business owners. But being the beginning of May here, I like to do a Denver market update to let you know how your biggest investment in your life is actually doing, your home. So let's dig right into the numbers. I hope you find this valuable. And again, if you ever need anything, feel free, give me a call, shoot me a text message, and enjoy the show. It's May 1st, and you know what that means? It's time for another Denver real estate market update. What's going on in the market? Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? How's the biggest investment in your life doing? Are the headlines living up to what they're saying? Jerome Powell is going to be talking again today with the Fed, letting us know maybe if they're going to drop rates by the end of the year or not. The stock market's a little unstable out there. So what the heck is actually going on? Now, the numbers here this month are, as usual, a little bit interesting. We've got a lot of cyclical things happening, but everything's just kind of a little moderate. I feel like a lot of people are kind of treading water right now, and that is super common during an election year. But I haven't looked at these numbers, so we're going to dive in, kind of look at what's going on. So starting with the closed price, we're looking at the entire Denver Metro MLS. This is the last 3 years of data. Now, to be fair, this is the first. So data is going to continue updating for the next couple of days. Why? Well, because if we closed on a property yesterday, but we didn't update the numbers until today, it's not going to be reflected until tomorrow. So these numbers might vary a little bit within a couple of percent over the next couple of days. If anything is drastically different, I'll be sure to keep you posted. But we can see from March, the median close price all around Denver was $575. In April, went up to $580. So we officially topped last year. Still haven't topped what we did in April of 2022, but we'll see what happens over the next month or so. Usually we do have a decent size run up until about June. So we can see back in 2018, June was the peak. Back in 2019, May was the peak. 2020, forget 2020, October was the peak. So we still got another month or two for peak prices. So now if you're a seller, quit dragging your feet. Like, now is the time to be a seller. You literally will probably make anywhere from 10 to 50 grand more at this time of year than you will, let's say, in August or September. Okay. So keep that in mind. So new listings, supply and demand, what's driving our prices is that there's just not a lot on the market. If you've been on the buy side and you've been looking, inventory is really scarce. So 7,400 new listings in March, 8,800 in April. It follows a similar pattern. Now we've seen last year, we actually dropped listings in April. And then we did the same thing in 2021. We dropped in May actually. So it's not uncommon to hover a little bit where it seems like June for new listings seems to be about the peak. And if we zoom out completely, we can it's a heartbeat, right? 2016, June was the peak of new listings. 2017, June was the peak of new listings. 2018, May was the peak of new listings. So we're in it, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the thick of it. We're in the best market if you're on the sell side right now that we're going to have for the next 9 months. Okay. Active listings. So we know more stuff is coming on the market. How much is sitting there? Where's the supply and demand? Are we selling more than we're putting on the market? Well, in April, we had 11,800 active listings. The month before, in March, we had 11,000. So 800 more listings active in April. So inventory is rising. Is this normal? Yes. What is not normal is what we had over February, March, and into April, which is stagnant levels of inventory that really balanced our market out. We have seen several scenarios where we've had multiple offers. It's not nearly as hot as a couple of years ago, of course, but having two offers isn't uncommon if you're priced right or a bit aggressively. So we can look at last year, we can see all active listings just kept growing until about September, which is, again, pretty much the norm. So I would expect to see, if history repeats itself, a continue of growing inventory until the end of summer. Okay? Pending listings. This has been the driving force of all the headlines out there. Oh, nothing is selling. Everything, is just shutting down, blah, 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 blah. Garbage, hot garbage, all of it. I just saw a post today on the Denver market and how we're up 110% in inventory. It's a load of crap, ladies and gentlemen. I'm showing you the actual numbers here. We're up about 10% year over year. If you want to really look at that, we're at 11,800 as of April of 2024. Last year, we were at 10,900, 11,000. So we've got 800 more listings this year that are active than last year. 10%, not even a 10% bump. And we're coming from record low numbers. And if you want to see what I mean by record low numbers, just look, we're matching everything we came out of 2010 after the Great Recession. And we just started having a spike up in prices. We're mimicking those inventory numbers. Nothing is out of the ordinary here, folks. But pending listings got stronger. So last year we peaked out in April of properties going under contract at 6,500-ish, okay? This year so far, 6,800. Let's take a look back. What is the peak month for the amount of buyers, right? Let's go back previously to 2015. May was the peak. 2017 or 2016, May was the peak. 2017, May was the peak. 2018, May was the peak. I don't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. This is your market cycle. May, historically, has more properties go under contract than any other month. So if you're going to get on the market, do I have to say it again? Now is your time. Okay. Closed listings. This one is interesting. And I went back and looked at this last month just to see okay, where are we headed? And April of this year, we closed 5,100 properties. Okay. March, we closed 5,400. So we actually dropped in the amount of closings. And I went, okay, that feels really goofy. We should be going up and away, right? But when I look at 2023, we went from March at 6,000 closed down to 5,700 in April. Back in 2021, even when the mania was in full force, we went from closing 7,600 down to 7,100. So it's not out of the ordinary to have these little tiny blips, okay? But then after that, we kind of spike up and away as far as closed listings go. And we'll pay attention to what's going on here. This is a big driving factor of our market. You can see this heartbeat, right? Closed listings peaked out in 2013 in July, in June of 2014, June of 2015. It mimics pending, right? So if the most go under contract in May, the most closings happen in June. Okay, the 30-day, 45-day closings on average makes sense, right? So what we're seeing here, the heartbeat all of a sudden drops drastically. So this is what all the headlines are really focusing on right now is, sales are down big time. And it does affect a lot of the industries. You got to remember, outside of just us real estate agents, there's a lot of ancillary businesses wrapped up around the real estate market. You're talking title companies. You're talking home inspectors. You're talking contractors that are helping get houses ready to sell or houses that have just been bought and fixing them up, making them how they want, kitchens, baths, paint, things like that. You have photography companies. You have video companies like staging companies. You have a lot of other businesses that rely on the real estate industry. Lenders, of course. And if 50% of all lenders did not renew their license in 2024. There just wasn't enough business. Now with lenders, it's a little bit different. because it's not just about closings, it's about refi business as well. There is no refi business. And so you've gotten rid of 50% of what lenders are doing. And then on top of that, you get rid of a lot of the closings, a lot of the borrowing, because interest rates are at 7% or a little bit above today. Like, it just makes for this storm of a really challenging time for a lot of people in the real estate industry. Heading back over here, days in the MLS. So we're going to start looking at the buyer activity. Okay. So this is your pulse on how active is the actual market, right? We can look at closed listings. We can look at new listings, active, all that stuff. But that doesn't tell you the buyer activity. So looking at how many days on the market on average for most houses. Now, this is the average. You have some that have been on the market for a year that just haven't gone anywhere. You got sellers that are digging their heels in, which is not uncommon right now. And then you've just got some, anomaly stuff that was on the market for a day. But on average, January, everything was on the market for an average of 37 days. As we get to the spring months, we went from 14 days on the market on average last month to 10 days, right? That's nothing. That's less than 2 weeks. So if you're a buyer and you're in the market, you got to move, and you got to move quickly. If you have a budget to work within and you're struggling, my best advice is to look at stuff that's been on the market for 2 weeks or more, okay? Because maybe they're overpriced. Maybe there's something about the property that isn't appealing. Maybe they went under contract, then they came back on the market. Now it's your time to attack, right? Properties get stigmatized, even though it doesn't always make sense. When something's been on the market and gone under contract and back on, all of a sudden it falls off of everybody's radar. Those are the properties that I love to look at with my buyers, because there's opportunity there to not compete, to actually get inspection items taken care of and negotiate a bit, right? Now, months supply. So we went from 2.1 months supply in March, which a balanced market here is about 4 months of inventory, okay? So we're about half of the inventory for a balanced market. And we went up to 2.2 months, meaning more properties came on the market than buyers closed on, period. So getting a little bit more inventory. Then showings to pending. So again, getting back to that buyer activity, we're looking at 9 showings on average before a property goes under contract, okay? Then we look at shows per listing, and this is 6.8 showings per listing per month, right? The better you're priced, the more showings you're going to have, the quicker you're going to go under contract, okay? But this is your buyer activity, and we can look back at shows per pending, and we can zoom this out a lot, and we're going to see that's pretty typical, around 10 showings before going under contract on average, okay? Now, what's going to be coming up in the next few months? What do you want to know? Trying to rub my crystal ball here and tell you what's going to happen. So during a normal election year, okay, we reduce our traffic by about 50%, okay? And that usually starts in the summer, July. July is already a slow month. During election years, it gets even slower. The later summer you get, the slower showing traffic will become. In a normal election year, the more contentious an election year is, the slower the buyers move. If the Fed talks today and in an hour or two from now are telling us that, hey, rates aren't going to drop this year at all, the interest rates may spike up another 0.5 point, right? That's very possible, and that's going to slow down the showing traffic that much more. I mean, every 1% in interest rate adjustment affects your home buying purchase by about 10%. So if your budget was $600,000 this week, and let's say interest rates go up by 0.5%, you're now able to afford basically $570,000. That's a 5% adjustment, okay? So that's going to be the challenge that we're working with for the rest of the year if more properties keep coming on the market. But anybody with a 3% interest rate isn't selling their house unless they absolutely have to. I would say half of the stuff coming on the market is because of a life-changing event or an aging population, okay? And we see that every day in all the sellers we meet with. We've met with a lot of people, that the baby boomers, parents' generation, that can no longer, keep up a single family home. That's a lot of the inventory coming to the market. It's not your lateral movers. It's not your movers that have a 2,000 square foot house and they're looking to get into a 3,000 square foot house or more because mom and dad might be coming to live with them soon and become a multi-generational family. They're looking at their interest rates going, hey, we're paying $1,700, $1,800 a month for our $400,000 mortgage, and we're at 3%. And if we buy another house, even if we take out the same mortgage of $400,000 and use the rest of our cash to put down on another property, we might be paying $3,500 a month. Like, that's a big change. And so it's got a lot of would-be sellers and would-be buyers completely locked into place. So it's an interesting market out there. I think the summer months and into the fall, if you're on the buy side, might create some decent opportunity for you because showing traffic is going to be down. People get scared on election. Half the population think the world's going to end. And then a few months after that goes by and it's like, business as usual. Doesn't matter your politics. That's what happens in the real estate business. If you're on the sell side, stop right now. If you're thinking of like, hey, we might be ready in 2 months, I'm telling you, now is better than 2 months from now. So if you can, get off your tushy and get your house ready. And for those of you who are new here, my name is Alex Saldana. I love helping homeowners, buyers get their questions answered on this channel. So if you ever need anything, feel free. Give me a call, shoot me a text message anytime. I got you covered. And until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, happy housing.